right. Thank you, Pat. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, meeting's adjourned. Okay, how many people have been to a backwards meeting? Raise your hand. Okay, for those of you who have not been to a backwards meeting, this is how it works. You've looked at the agenda and you can see that it's in reverse. Not backwards, but in reverse. And so the general evaluator has the most important job. And luckily you have the nice Steve Cybers. So he's not going to be brutal, and he will tell you what you did in the speeches, the WAG report, the meeting listener, no, not the meeting listener, well, he could. And, no, he's
He
not.
won't make you kiss him like Pat would.
He could.
We're not going to ask anybody to stand on a chair and wave the red paddle.
What? Oh, there goes that one.
So follow the agenda as closely as you can. Speakers, it's okay if you don't implement what we tell you, because you've worked so hard to get your speech together. But if you can, that's great, okay? All right, let's get, we've already finished, so meeting is adjourned.
I didn't have the gavel.
I have the gavel.
There we go. And I have, the announcement is for our officers that are here, which is the most of them. We'll have our next meeting September the 27th. And so that, Steve, you have any announcements?
That's asking for money.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the
I've
deadline?
collected several. I'm sorry.
What's the deadline?
To try and get 50 district bucks, it is September 13th,
Okay.
something like that. Before, we have one more meeting, and then I think it's September 13th, I want to matter 15th. So we have one more meeting, but the true deadline is October 1st.
Bring it to the next meeting.
Okay, cool.
And I think you'll accept something in the mail?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll accept anything.
Checks in the mail, I'll respect
Call
you in the
me, I'll
morning, and the
come by.
computer will be up in an hour with
I
3
can
big
walk you through
slides.
doing it
And it's
online, however you want to do it.
45 and 18?
54.
Oh.
60,
No, 45 and 18 for a
45
total
and
of
18.
63.
So
Yes,
yeah, equals 63. Thank you, Pat.
it's that same matter.
We don't have any guests tonight, so we won't be welcoming the guests. And I'm going to invite the vote counter, Sangeeta, to come up here and present the awards. All right. So we have a better speaker.
It's a tie between Vijay and...
All right, you'll get to, you'll get to.
Good work.
Yes.
That's a good way to do it.
Yes, that's a great
Hey,
way
smart
to do
girl.
it. I know. I'm trying to help.
And the table topics, right?
Table topics, who's the best table topics?
Lady?
Lenny! Yes! Congratulations! Okay, the better
Ribbon for
evaluator.
speakers. Did you get one?
Debbie
Yeah, did they not
and,
get their speaker ribbons?
oh, the other ribbon, here.
Yeah,
it
give
is.
the other ribbon.
Tie.
Okay. I'll accept it.
Congratulations.
And okay, the...
wow.
Like the
This is
evaluator...
the only way I would get this.
Woo! All right, stay up here. All right, stay up here. Meeting listener, you're next. So go ahead and ask your questions, and you guys try to answer them. And if you don't know, they'll go to the speakers and the evaluators. You can say anything.
What was Lenny's favorite quote in her table topics speech?
Her favorite what?
Quote? Quote?
Quote?
Quote in her favorite table topics.
Yeah. During your table topics, what was her favorite
Pat?
quote? I didn't come to stay, I came to play.
She has to use that in her table topics now.
Yeah, she has to use that
Yeah,
there.
try and use that.
Oh, I have to use that?
Yeah. Write that down. Okay, another question?
What was Comba's favorite vacation spot?
She's a table topic master.
My bad. Okay, so what was Pat's favorite vacation spot?
His home.
Okay. What did Jim tell about, no, Jim is doing the road, right?
He's doing, timer.
Timer.
So what did Jim tell about his previous experience in a backwards meeting?
Oh,
that?
okay,
Who's gonna say?
okay.
Patch has already answered.
Yeah, he's already answered.
Steve, can you answer?
What was the question? What was his question?
I told him.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
It was something he apologized for later.
That was good.
I didn't apologize, I thought it was really funny.
Well, no, I mean last week when you used it.
Oh, yeah.
Last week.
Make him do something.
Oh, I'm trying.
Okay, so you can copy on it. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yay. That wasn't that so hard, all right.
Good job.
So it's back to me, and I introduced the meeting listener, and I've already done that. So I'm the Toastmaster, woo! Applause, applause, applause. And I reintroduced the presiding officer, Debbie Seigers, she's president. And then yay! Thank you. And now I introduce Steve Seigers, the general evaluator. Oh boy. Everybody raise your hand. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
And you're welcome, Madam Toastmaster.
Yes.
No? Yes, we are. Both.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. It was quite the interesting meeting tonight. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, everyone who's quivering. And I just don't know how to bring myself to say some of these things. Some of these notes that I've got, I've been putting an X by, and then crossing out and putting a check by, because I just don't know if I should mention them in this company. But just wanted to mention something about the meeting listener. There really is nothing I can do about the meeting listener because she's finished. I suppose that I could say something like, well, she listened for the nitpicky little things, didn't she?
Yeah.
None of us knew exactly what answer she was expecting from anything she asked us. So we really do have to listen more in future meetings. I thought that our Toastmaster was quite demure tonight. No enthusiasm,
Oh, wow.
nothing out of the ordinary. Until I remembered she's my ride home. So I would like to say that she was her usual exuberant self, but she kind of did look cross-eyed at me a few times during the course of the meeting for things I had not done, according to me. Our wag tonight was so nice to everybody. It just didn't fit his character. But I think that he was doing that little subtle jab underneath everything, so I listened closer, and finally I got down to those. He was just too nice. That's all. Our vote counter, I wanted to ask if you rigged the election. Because of, well, the way things went. Table topics master. You were a little sneaky tonight. Putting fear into everyone, the way you'd ask the question and just sort of peer around and then say, you answer that.
Yeah.
Timer, you've never been so energetic showing the paddles. I mean, you couldn't help but see them in the next room. And there's a wall between us. Fortunately, people were not distracted by it, but oh, were you so energetic. I'm not sure who evaluated who anymore. That kind of got last on me.
I
But-
evaluated.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That helps.
Debbie evaluated.
BJ.
Okay. Well, that was kind of different. Lenny was, I haven't seen you that mean before.
No! She's a sweetheart.
You've been I mean, you told the truth. And some people say the truth is the meanest thing of all. But then Debbie came along, and she told a whopper. So I guess it's all right what you did. And then we got back up to the Toastmaster again, and she was still my ride home. We got to the speakers. Gentlemen, I say gentlemen only because there's two men speaking tonight. I'm not trying to worry about genders here. You have your individual evaluations tonight, so I don't need to add anything to that.
Oh, come on.
Oh, don't worry. They'll tell you later what you'll be doing. And then, once again, we get back to everyone just introducing themselves. And everybody introduced themselves with such decorum, such formality, such, oh, who am I kidding? They were lying through their teeth. Madam Toastmaster, that's my report.
And of course, the role players,
Timer.
and then the evaluators.
But that is my report. At this time, I need to introduce other people for their reports.
There you go.
But I had to get my report in
Well,
before.
that's right, yeah, this time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So now, I would like to ask the WAG.
No,
I thought that was the next name.
you're right.
There's that cross-eyed thing again for something I didn't do.
Yeah, that's right.
Our WAG tonight will be Mr. Pat Canoe.
Yay.
Pat, come up and get your applause.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I don't know if I just got enough sleep last night or what, but I just feel nice. And particularly because everyone did so well. I am glad everyone enjoyed the words of the day. I have them up here. Since it's a backwards meeting, you can either use deliver, deliver a speech, or reviled, meaning you hate it, find something bad, criticize in an abusive or angrily fashion. So you can use either one or a variation, or y'all used one or the other. Everyone used one or both of those words tonight. As far as the odd counter report, it was tremendous. I counted one, and I hate to pick on you, Debbie, when you came up as presiding officer, I was counting, and you had a 5-second ah. As far as the grammarian's report, boy, maybe it's just the way I heard things, but at the start, your little intro to the table topics, you made everything, or you were trying to make everything an adverb by adding ly to the end of the word, which it works for the president. It didn't really work so much this time. And as far as interesting language or any other grammatical errors, I didn't catch any grammatical errors with the speakers. Honestly, I didn't hear much of your speeches. I'm sure you had wonderful language in there, but as soon as VJ started talking, Sangeetha started nibbling on my ear. As soon as Alex started talking, Compoy started nibbling on my ear. I just sat in the chair, they sat beside me, I don't know what the heck went on. Maybe that's why I'm in a good mood. Let's see what happens.
That's right.
Why is everybody on that row changing chairs?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't think you're anywhere.
You won't be hearing too well after.
I didn't catch anything.
Yeah. Boy, I just reveled in that report.
Reviled.
I know. And now we're going to go to our vote counter. You are supposed to now pick up and count all of the ballots. Oh, I see you've already done that. You'll deliver that result to us later, I'm sure. And now, well, that's pretty much all I have to do. Except I can call for the votes to be collected, but that's been done. I can also ask for the timers report for, oh, where's the other,
The timers report on the evaluation.
yes, because that has to be given before they give their report.
All of the speakers were within the limits, they all called.
Evaluators?
The evaluator?
Evaluators.
Oh, them too, okay. He changed hands with one of those pedals when he did that. Okay, well, that's good to know. All right. Now, thank you for that report, Mr. Timer. We will now get our second evaluator to give her evaluation of our second speaker. Lenny will be talking to us about Alex today, or his speech, rather.
Yay! And I have to be mean.
When am I supposed to nibble on his ears
On the
again?
speeches.
They're longer.
Hardly that. Yeah.
Speeches are longer than evaluations.
Alex, did you not practice your speech before you came to get
That's me.
Ouch. They say, you know, when you don't practice, it does show through. For everybody but me. I guess you make it up as I go around. Also, you came up here and you stared out the window and we were kind of like, what? Before you started your speech. Probably lost a couple seconds there, but I would say engage with us right away. I don't know, I thought maybe there was a cute chick out there or something. That's right. Other than that, your speech was dynamite, well-researched, excellent job.
Okay.
You delivered it very well, and there was nothing to revile.
All right. So at this time, I want to thank Debbie for that evaluation she just gave us for our AJ speech, VJ speech. And now she'll come up.
Thank you, DJ, for being here, since we're such a small group tonight. And your title of your speech was very interesting to me because it made me curious. Who am I? And since I don't know you very well, I was glad to hear some things about you. But I couldn't believe all the places that you've traveled. I mean, he listed California, he listed Dumas, Texas. Yeah, it was just amazing. Indonesia, he mentioned, oh, there's another, only had one, okay, that he listened to. He's been to Russia, managed to get out of there. Without any prostitutes. Bad girl, bad girl. So it's amazing to hear all the places that you've been, and you're such a young man, or you look like you're a young man. What I want you to work on is your delivery, okay? Speak louder so we can hear you, so Jim can hear you in the back of the room. Be sure you can move the lectern if you want, and you can work the stage. So don't just stay behind the lectern, okay? Now I know at the last minute you moved it, and you realized that you needed to move around, and that was why you needed to do that at the very beginning. The last thing I want to tell you is, I can't wait to hear more speeches from you because you practiced your speech and you did a very good job. So just a few things to work on is your delivery and move the lectern and use the stage And I'm just fascinated that you went to Dumas, Texas. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I'm done.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for introducing me as the general evaluator for the meeting tonight. Yes, sure.
Oh, I'm Toastmaster.
Yes.
This is the Debbie Cypress show. I'm back up.
Introducing the second one.
Table topics.
No, table topic.
Table topic, great. Can't believe you did a great job. Of course, there were no guests here, and everybody has a job here, and you had to pick on them anyway.
Yep.
But please welcome Councilwoman Sayavon.
So I actually call people up to answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Let's see, the table topics tonight, since this is a specialty backwards meeting, I'm gonna focus on certain spots in life that you get to go back to and either replay or relive again. So, Jen, or you answer that. What was your favorite age? And at the experience of this backwards meeting, your favorite age. So give us your favorite age, and since you've been in Toastmasters since you were 12, tell us a mistake that you made in that time. Actually, give us your favorite age.
hours? Just on the set.
Favorite age is 12. So, talk it out for
All right. My favorite age, I never really wanted to grow up. I enjoyed being a teenager, and I enjoyed being in my 20s. I was a surfer when I was a teenager, and in my early 20s, I loved it. And some favorite memories. I was in another club I think it was about 7 years ago, and I was the general evaluator. And I mentioned this earlier to Steve, and I thought for sure he was going to tell this. It's a pretty good story. I had a rivalry going with this guy in the club. His name is Conley Giles. He's been in, you know Conley?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and anyhow, we had a rivalry going in Austin Toastmasters. I guess like Pat and others. And so anyhow, as general evaluator, I said that Conley stood up and he made a noise, and nobody could figure out what the noise was until the women around Conley put their hands to their noses. And finally, people realized what the noise was. And so I've had an interesting history with the backwards meetings and also table topics master. I love to look around and then surprise somebody. And I would never ask those questions again, but I really, when I was in that singles club and I was a lot younger, I really had some fun with the girls. When you're a table topics master, I mean, you can make or break somebody's evening. Really, you know. And I remember another situation. This was about 7 years ago. When I was table topics master, this guy came in late, and I don't know Eric Peterson. You know Eric? He's a real estate broker. He's been in anyhow. He came in late, and he had a rotten day as a real estate broker. And he sat next to me, and I was table topics master. He said, "Oh, I've got a headache. I've got a lousy day. Who's the table topics master? I don't want to, you know." I said, "Well, I am, Eric." And so anyhow, he said, "Well, don't call me." I said, "Eric, I'm your friend. There's no way I would do that." So I got up, and I was as table topics master, and I started out, and I said, "One of our members had the misfortune of coming in and sitting next to the table topics master and saying that he didn't want to do table topics. I can't believe it." And I said, "Eric Peterson, come up here and tell us about your miserable day." And he would have killed me if he did. But I had a lot of fond memories in Toastmasters, including being table topics master. So, Madam Yeah. Yeah, right.
You don't have to say the titles backwards.
For the next person, Sangeeta, you answer that. Highlight a major, or what are some of the major highlights in your life? And one of them is you met your love of the love of your life at 5, and that you threw a tantrum because you told your parents that you wanted to marry them. He delivered 5 cows and 15 chickens and 10 goats, and then you had a child. You were wedded at 13 and had a child at 15. So
Good start.
you answered that. That's the highlight of your life, or whatever else
Okay, I get to live somebody who I'm not through cowboy, and yeah, I fell in love the first time I met this. We were playing on the road, and then the minute I saw him, I fell in love. Just like how they show in movies, all bells started ringing everywhere, and then the fairies and angels around me, and I was like fascinated to see him. And then butterflies in my stomach. We kept hanging out with each other, and then it took me about 2 years to tell my parents that I fell in love with him. But then at the age of 7, I got the courage and I told my parents that I'm seriously in love with this boy, and then I can't live my life without this boy. And then they threw tantrums at me telling that no, you're too young to get married, no, it's not possible. But then I said, no, if you're not going to get me married, then I'm going to run out of the house and I'm not going to live in this house anymore. Of fear of losing me, they agreed to finally get me married to the boy. So at the age of, and this process took me about a year, but finally at the age of 8 or 8.5 maybe, I was married to the boy. And then, as expected, we were struggling with our lives because we were too young. So there was a little bit of help from our parents to survive, and then we still were going to school and then getting assignments done together and everything. And then, like from boy side, we had loads of a lot of farm animals to take care of. And yeah, and then I was blessed with 2 kids at the age of trying to keep the time.
Keep the time.
Oh, he's not keeping the time.
She's got a novel. You've got the beginnings of your novel.
I think that was good. You were so enthralled by your story that you
Wait a minute.
I was looking at my
Was that a novel or a biography?
She just got started.
Since we are the winner of table topics, you answer that. Knowing what you know now, at what point in your life would you go back to give advice to that little boy or girl of yours or of yourself? Maybe a mistake that you made or a path that you should have taken but didn't, or what is it in that advice or that event? And part of what was provided for you was you didn't come to stay, you came to play. So you did break up with a boy at that time. So work that in somehow.
Before I started, I have to say my favorite age was 29.
Oh.
I loved it so much, I did it for 30 years. I'm serious. And then I turned 40. So tell me when you're ready so I can start. I would go back to, you said a young age. I would go back to the last relationship I was in, and I would be telling myself that every day. I did not come to stay, I came to play. Seriously, that was the first relationship I took serious, thinking I'm going to stay in it. I played in all the rest of them before. All the ones before, I had that attitude. I'm not staying. I'm just here to play and hang out. And then this one, I was, okay, I'm here, I'm staying. And guess what he said? I'm not here to stay, I'm here to play. Not in words, but in attitude and actions. So it bit me in the behind. So what I would tell my little self is, you are loved, you are lovable, let love in, and keep love when you find it.
That's why she won. Okay, so we have time for one more, since that's the last question. Why don't we just go with it? All right. You answer that. And no nibbling.
I'm happy with all the nibbling I've
If
done.
you have to go back in time, at what age would you like to go back to and relive again, whether it's a specific age or phase? And since your home is your favorite vacation spot, the age that I picked for you, you can change it, was you were 22 years old and you fell in love and you married this woman and you honeymooned at home. 6 months later, she left you and she was tired of being at home.
We all did tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you, Master Table Topics Master. I don't know what table topic you were listening to, but that wasn't anything like I said.
That's what I heard.
Well, you heard wrong. You got some of the pieces correct. 22 was my favorite time, and I was in love, but I was in love with myself staying home alone.
Oh.
About 2 years when I was, do the math, 21, 1 year ahead of that, I came into some money because a relative I didn't care for died and left me some money, so I was able to put a down payment on a house. Except I was a poor state employee, so I didn't have monthly, couldn't afford the monthly, so I had to get 2 roommates. They were fun. They moved out when I turned 22, and I was happier than I could ever imagine because I just wanted to be by myself eating chili cheese Fritos on the couch with just my boxers on. And that's what I love to do.
All right. Timers report, please.
No, you weren't. You're about
It
40.
doesn't matter. You already
I mean, in
won.
real life.
Yeah. So, Mr. Timers report, was everyone on time? Yes. Okay.
I lied, but.
Okay, you can vote for Pat in his boxers,
No, we
or
voted before.
Lenny and.
We had already voted.
That should have happened at the beginning.
Oh, she's going through the motions for it. We're not gonna really write something down.
No,
We're just wait.
we had already voted.
I
You
know.
already voted at the
Yeah, we already
beginning. You
voted,
should
now
have
we
done it
gotta
at the
vote.
start.
You're just starting it. You're saying table topics are coming up next. 'Cause
Oh,
we
yeah,
voted.
Sorry, I
Before
should
we-
have started with the recap. Oh,
There you go. Next time.
okay.
So now. you
Okay,
introduce-
well, thank you, everyone. This section is the table topics, and we have some fun questions tonight about going back in time. And each of you will be giving us a short story or an autobiography about what your life is back in time. Thank you.
You have the most interesting.
Wait.
Discombobulated, I would have made my time.
Pat, BJ hasn't come up and told us about his travels. In his speech, Dennis, Texas. So she may not have had the most interesting life.
You know, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
A lot to live up to, BJ.
All right. Keep focused on your icebreaker.
That's right, yeah.
Mr. Timer, were these speakers on time?
Oh, yeah. I should take over his timer.
It's too complicated. And you have more experience with Toastmasters.
Okay.
Timer.
Okay, so everybody, people were within time, thank you very much.
Especially her.
And we called for the vote for speaker, and both of them, they tied, so we don't need to go on.
You don't know it.
We just have to
You
hear
don't know
them.
that yet, that's true, yeah, we do. The second speaker is going to go first, and that is
Yeah, I
Alexander.
understand.
Alexander is going to be speaking on Safeguard Your Smartphone, which is from Innovative Planning, number 4, Researching and Presenting. Safeguard Your Smartphone, Alexander. Yeah, Alex. Knock him dead.
before that, I have to do something. Good evening, Toastmasters, fellow Toastmaster. Smartphones become an essential companion nowadays. So I'm going to talk about how the smartphones are hacked by the hackers and how we can prevent from those activities to secure our privacy. So, according to the experts, they are listing these are the top 3 reasons, top 3 ways hackers easily hack your smartphones. Smartphones made our lives so easily because it's taped into your information stored in your mobile phone, smartphone. It will give you the birthday reminder. You don't need to remember your wife's birthday. Married people know what is the pain if you forget your wife's birthday. It will give you the nearest restaurant, nearest coffee shop, nearest store, grocery store, and even it tell you where is the nearest Toastmaster club for you. But it all comes with the price, that is loss of your privacy. So the first reason, unsecured Wi-Fi. Unsecured Wi-Fi means it's public places like cafe or airports. It's not unsecured. It's unsecured Wi-Fi. So we just, even I go to any common places, I just look for some Wi-Fi, I just connect and start browsing it. So that's not the right one. But smartphones are smart. They'll give you a pop-up saying that in iPhone, the server identity could not be verified. Do you want to continue? According to experts, 92% of the people, they ignore the pop-up, they'll continue browsing unsecured Wi-Fi. So whenever you connect to the Wi-Fi, think before whether really you want to use it. Because hackers, they know the vulnerability, they will take your iPhone and they will get all the information from your mobile phone. So the second one, operating system loss. So 2 weeks back, I got a chance to look at my wife's phone, smartphone. There are 2 updates are pending. Then I told my wife that this is very important because whenever the mobile manufacturing company, they keep on pushing the updates to your mobile phone, smartphones. So some people they don't care, they don't update it because they don't need what is there in that updates. But mobile phone, they want to secure the users from the hackers. So they will push the updates, which based on the security updates and operating system. So according to expert, whenever there is an update, we have to do immediately, as soon as possible. So that is very important. And then third one, malicious apps. Application add functionality to your mobile phone, but it also increase the risk of privacy, loss of privacy. Especially when you download an app from the message or internet, it's not secure. The app works perfectly fine, no problem. But there will be a malicious code inside the app that will be used by the hackers to steal your information from your phone. So whenever you want to install an app, make sure really you need that app. Check that credibility of the app, who created it, what is the maybe you can see that the review comments start, what is the category, what is the ranking before installing it. If you keep on increasing the apps in your phone, it also increases the security, loss of security. This is the malicious app, like neither Google or iPhone, they are not going to look at the app store each by each app to find out, determine whether it's a malicious or not. It's to protect ourselves, we have to make sure that whatever the app we are installing, whether it's okay to, it has a credibility to install. So according to expert, try to avoid and more in apps in your mobile phone. So the bottom line is, nothing you can secure on the mobile phone 100%. But by doing the small things, you can prevent the hackers to invade your smartphone. Thank you.
Our first speaker is DJ, and he is speaking.
You have to put
Oh,
the.
I need to put the lights back. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm like a waffle.
How's your ear?
Dry.
There'll be no sexual harassment in this club.
I won't sue.
No, but they might. Speaking from the Pathway Effective Coaching, the icebreaker, VJ's title is Who Am I? Who am I, VJ? Good luck.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My warm greetings to fellow Toastmasters. So, who am I? For starters, let's say that I'm the reluctant public speaker who's delivering his first speech after joining the club 10 months ago. Even babies come out sooner from their mother's womb. Now let's get quickly into breaking the ice. Talking about babies, I was born in a very small town in India, southern part of India to be very specific. Any more geography details, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose some of you here. I started my schooling in a rural town where I studied for 5 years. My dad, everything was going great till that point. My dad decides this isn't fitting his lifestyle, so he wanted to shake things up a bit. My next 5 years were in 5 different schools. We moved around quite a bit. We traveled east, west, north, south, any other direction I may have left out. We were in California, we were in Indonesia, we were, like I said, all over the place. Overall, I had studied in 8 different schools, in multiple cities across different parts of the country. We did not have a witness protection program in India, but if we had, I'm pretty sure we were in one. After all the moving around, meant a lot of adapting. And it wasn't just me. My mom, my dad, my brother, who was 7 years younger to me, we all had to adapt in different ways. We had to adapt to the new climate, new cultures, new neighborhood, new language. Now in India, every state has its own language. Officially we have 23, but there are more than 120 languages that is spoken across different parts of the country. So with every move to a new state, we had to pick up a new language. Somehow my dad was acing all this. He was adapting quite well. He was handling it like a boss. The one thing he did was skipping the learning the new language part. But he wasn't banking, and he interfaced with a lot of clients on a day-to-day basis. Now, how he did that without knowing the local language is beyond me. I do remember this one occasion very vividly though. It was right after we moved from Dumas, Texas to Russia. Strangely, Hindi was the local language there. And my dad barely knew a few words. All he knew was to say, okay, yes, no, great in Hindi, and that's it. So I was out with my dad to meet one of his colleagues from his bank, and we were outside his gate when an elderly lady, she comes out to the gate and she tries to give some information to the dad. So and Hindi being the local language in Russia, she goes, भाई साहब, उनको कुत्ते ने काट लिया, वो अस्पताल में हैं. And then my dad goes, अच्छा अच्छा बहुत अच्छा. So and then
They
And then my dad asked me to translate what she just said because the lady is staring at him, right? So I told my dad, well, looks like your colleague's got bitten by a stray dog and he's at the hospital. And you just answered, that's great news. My dad was very embarrassed, but he was actually more shocked than embarrassed. He could not believe that he did not pick up any vibe from the lady that she's reporting an incident or an accident where a man's hurt. She said it in a very normal tone versus excuse. We later learned that it was his colleague's mother-in-law, which now makes sense to me as to how indifferent she can describe it. When I came home and shared it with my mom, she literally fell onto the floor laughing. Needless to say, my dad never took me along with him after that, so that such stories never made public. Now, it was much later in my life that I realized what all those constant changes and moves so early on in my life did to me. It made sure that I didn't develop a subconscious identity for myself about who I was. I did not feel affiliated to any particular region, religion, or language. I had no personal identity about myself that prompted me to look down on anyone who was different than me. I often see people around me who always carry some sort of an identity about them. It's a larger-than-life identity. These identities can be social, political, religious, financial, and even physiological in nature. Now, don't get me wrong, diversity is beautiful and should be celebrated. But if you have a strong, misplaced core identity about who you are, it has the potential for prejudice and a distorted perception with reality and can lead to discrimination. The fundamental problem I see across the globe is the lack of a common identity that unites us all. There is division all around us in all forms and sectors, which has led to people using those divisive things as identities to set themselves apart. They have gone the route of becoming exclusive instead of feeling inclusive. It's unfortunately an unconscious choice. Having a fundamental identity that ties us all together is not a philosophy, it's a reality of life that people somehow have failed to see. You need a philosophy to set yourself apart, not the other way around. So can I say that we are the planet and that the psychological identities that we have put up during our short tenure on this planet cannot be bigger than that identity of us feeling like a planet? And perhaps one day when Earth is in a battle with Mars, then all of us on Earth would feel united. But then again, we would end up discriminating and looking down on folks from Mars. So that's not ideal either. So how can I be inclusive in defining and establishing an identity that unites us all without any scope of discrimination? So who am I? My answer to that is a statement that I was taught in school at a very early age, which sums up appropriately. Aham Brahmasmi. It means my identity is with the cosmos. Thank you all.
You didn't notice, as you're evaluating, you didn't notice, and I forgot to tell you this, I stuck my tongue in at you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because you weren't making eye contact with me. But that's okay.
He was having to read all those ad libs.
Yeah, exactly. You did a very good job.
Oh my God.
Very good job. Okay, we've had the second speaker, the first speaker, it's back to me.
Thanks for that.
Second, Keitha,
I'm sorry, I was
you're back up here, and you're to explain your role as meeting listener and you're gonna listen out.
So I'll be listening to the meeting and then taking notes. I'll ask questions at the end of the meeting.
Sweet. There you go, all right. And his vote counter, could you come back up here, vote counter? Yay! Could you explain your role as vote counter?
Yeah, okay. And so I'll be collecting votes for the best speaker, the best table topics master, and the evaluator. And then I'll tally them at the end of the meeting and announce the results at the end.
I'm good.
Yeah. Very good. Vote counter, okay, she just explained it. explain your role as timer.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Okay. Let's have a great meeting tonight. I'm the timer, and I'll be raising the green flag or green paddle at 5 minutes for most of the speeches, the yellow paddle at 6 minutes, and the red paddle at 7 minutes. Let's have a terrific meeting tonight.
Oh,
I have a feeling he's gonna forget about it.
Times for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't I give it? Oh, okay. Everyone was in time tonight.
No. You're highlighting the timing for those two.
For
Oh,
evaluator
okay.
and
Yeah.
table topics.
Oh, I'm so confused. Let's see. Okay, the time. I haven't had enough experience in the Toastmasters. The time for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. And again, I'll put the green paddle up for 1 minute, yellow for 1.5 minutes, red for 2 minutes. And the evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes, and it'll be green, yellow, and red again. Madam Tabletop. Where am I?
If you turn around 3 times counterclockwise, you'll be unconfused.
Take your heels together.
Yeah, put your hands together and clap. And say there's no place like home.
Yeah,
You'll be
thanks.
wanting to go home.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, would you please come up here and explain the role of grammarian and word provider and odd counter? Pat,
Okay.
you. Yeah. Woo-hoo.
Why, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. No guess, I'm the wag for the evening. I have a particularly clever word. Words deliver. You would bring or hand something over to a recipient or state in a formal manner, or reviled, criticize in an abusive or angrily insulting manner. You could use either one. I'm going to give a report at the end about who uses the word the most at the end. I'm also the odd counter, and I will be counting for obnoxious uses of ahs and ums or filler words and grammarian. I don't know, I feel good today. So I'm just going to listen to particularly good uses of the English language. I'm particularly excited to hear your 2 speeches. I hope I get to hear them. Because I don't know.
You're doing great, Dave.
I've had some strange occurrences today. I've been trying a new cologne, and women have just been all over me. So I hope nothing like that happens during this meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Pat. Wow, that cologne is awesome.
Girls behave.
Did you sign a release that you weren't responsible for what happens to you?
Did they?
Did they? Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our presiding officer, Debbie Sygris. Yay! That is great. So would you please stand and we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We can play now. There's no guests, so welcome, big deal. Does anybody have the CL that needs evaluation? Too late. Too late. And let me introduce the Toastmaster to you. This young lady has been in Toastmasters for 28 years.
What?
All of them with the Today Toastmasters Club. And believe it or not, that is half her lifetime. Is that hard to believe? The reason why she started was because people were nipping at her heels to start the Toastmaster. She was supposed to be a charter member, but she said, no, I'm not going to join anything else. I just want to, sell cosmetics. Well, several months later, they were nipping at her heels again, and she said, fine, I'll go to a Toastmaster meeting. She signed the check and handed it over without knowing what Toastmasters was. After the first meeting, she said, I will only be an officer in the club. I will not do anything outside of the club. I will only give speeches. Well, then she met Mark Nolan. a few months later. And Mark drug Debbie.
Done dragged,
Dragged,
done.
done dragged, okay, thank you. You done well, Pat. And kicking and screaming to do area governor, district treasurer twice, to put on club contest, area contest. And look at Debbie now, she is woohoo. Debbie Cyrus. All right, I'm supposed to fill empty roles before the meeting starts?
Madam Presiding Officer.
Yes,
Before you get the meeting started,
yes,
may I mention something?
yes, stand up, Steve.
Stand up straight.
I wanted to ask if anyone would like to be the Toastmaster at our next meeting
Yes.
on September 6th, which happens to be next week. And since it's so soon, I'm trying to fill a few things. Oh,
I'll do it.
come
Yay,
boy,
come
thank you,
boy.
thank
You
you.
filled it. I
As Toastmaster, I want you to know that you can be in charge of the meeting. You can sit wherever you want. You can have Pat sit wherever you want. And you can tweak his ear with your fingers or not. We have a presiding officer. Would anyone care to be the table topics master? Lenny, thank you. General evaluator, only this time reporting the truth.
BJ, you can do it.
We have 3 speakers. So this is a reminder to Alex, Anand, who's not here, and Pat. You're all signed up to give a speech next week.
I spoke for
Oh,
first one in
wow.
10+ years.
Yeah.
Given a speech in 10 years.
We do not have a backup speaker in case one of those 3 have to drop out.
I'll be right.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna do everything next week.
Okay, the next role that's empty is grammarian.
I'm gonna be a grammarian right now. I'm gonna give y'all a grammar tip.
Okay,
If you're gonna say lark,
drug me,
if you wanna know whether if it's dragged or drugged,
yeah,
say she and say the sentence. So if you said she, how would you say it?
Done dragged.
no.
If you
She
say
dragged.
she dragged.
She
I
dragged.
drugged, she dragged.
Okay, I drug, she drug.
Then
Thank
you
you
know,
very much.
you replace the name with the pronoun and it's usually
Well, Pat, you missed that one.
makes a little more sense.
Done dragged. I know it's not done dragged.
What about dragged done?
Yes.
I think she dragged me. With those golden nuggets, the Hershey's golden nuggets.
Oh, yes. Grammarian, there were no takers. All right. Meeting listener?
Am I signed up for anything?
Yes, you are signed up for word provider hot counter.
Okay, thank you.
You can be the whole grammarian, the whole wag.
Oh, yeah. With my English, you bet.
What you learn?
Timer?
Just one.
Not Jim.
DJ, all right.
Let's fill this roster for me, come on.
All right. Now, we have one evaluator, Compoy.
You can't do that.
Well, she's doing the backup evaluation for Anand because she did the first one for her.
I mean, people are gonna be here that can sign up for those
Hopefully.
at the meetings. We're gonna have more people.
Does
I
anybody here?
will harass them through email this week.
We'll get people to sign up. I mean, we have to.
Yeah.
Well, no. Anand gave a speech a meeting or 2 back. Compoy evaluated it. And what Lorraine wants to do as the Pathways Guru is he's supposed to take that speech, improve it based on those notes, and give it again. And she wants the same evaluator so she can make note if he paid attention.
I see.
So, Compoy, I'll keep you as a backup Toastmaster,
Okay.
unless somebody else wants to be Toastmaster.
What are you gonna do?
I haven't signed up yet because I usually wait till the end since I'm in charge of it. We only have one
Toastmaster
evaluator.
sounds like a really important role to fill right now.
Jim is vote counter, Debbie's word provider, all counter, and I thought I'd been Toastmaster not long ago.
Well, it seems
All
there's
right.
like 8 of us here, I think.
Well, there should be more.
I can evaluate speaker number 3.
Thank you.
Are you serious?
Good one, good one. I'll give it
Don't
points.
throw it down, you don't throw it down.
Oh, I was just using it as a pointer. Just a pointer, point's not even out.
Okay.
He's the third speaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, then, all right, we will try to get some more names later. Please, all of you, learn computer skills so you can go to the page and sign yourselves up. And girls, be careful where you sit next time.
Thank you, Student Proctor. Okay, Pat, any more reminders about people need to pay you?
Actually, I've had several folks give me dues tonight, so
Great,
we're
you're
in
good.
better shape, but I'll send out another couple of reminders for folks to bring the money at the
Next
next
week,
week. Yeah.
okay.
That'll be the last one before that first due date.
All right, meeting started. Good job, everybody, it was fun. Well, that was
It didn't work out like I hoped, but.